Hey, it's Jason from Jason Polak Photography YouTube, and I'm going to do a little bit of an unboxing and first impressions of the Nikon Z 50mm f1.4 lens, kind of a portrait lens. And for comparison here, I have my older 50mm f1.8 lens here. So we're going to see what this lens is like. Now, I actually haven't even opened this box yet, so I'm eager to see what's inside. Let's open up the box. Well, we got, oops, kind of hope that box is under some type of warranty. So we got this, the manual, mostly useless, card, warranty card, and the lens is underneath the box. Oh, it's quite packed very nicely in here. Maybe I should have done a practice round. Okay, what's this? It's the lens hood. Comes with a pedal type lens hood, which allows more corrections for flare, blocking out the sun without too much vignetting. It's a interesting looking plastic hood. Seems medium quality. And well, the lens is in the main compartment of the box. If I can actually get it out. I didn't try this beforehand, so don't worry, I'll figure it out. Okay, don't worry, the lens is coming out of here. Okay, so inside, the only other thing in the box is the lens. And it's, well, I can tell automatically from this bag that it's a much heavier lens than the Nikon 50mm f1.8G, but it's also a much more complex lens. And you see it has a very nice looking interior. Yeah, and then there's the rear mount, which looks very nice and pristine. Doesn't smell like anything. Okay, so and we have a focusing ring, which turns very nicely, and there's also the control ring on the body of the lens, which allows you to control the aperture or exposure compensation right from the lens. So that's kind of a cool feature. I actually haven't tested one of these out for. This is actually my first Nikon Z lens, which is kind of cool. I was using mostly f-mount lenses mounted on my Nikon Z6, but this is a cool lens. This is my first Nikon Z lens, and I actually decided to get this lens because, well, this is the f1.4 version. There's also the f1.8 version. The f1.2 version is way too expensive, but this f1.4 version is actually a little cheaper than the f1.8 version. And the reason why that is because, well, it's probably slightly less optically good than the f1.8 lens, but probably still very optically good. You can see from the size of this glass compared to this older lens that you're probably going to get a little bit more quality out of this lens. And I think some people have done tests and already shown that, but it's also a lot bigger. So it's a lot bigger and heavier than this nice, cute little Nikon 50mm f1.8G. So far it feels very nice. It doesn't have any buttons on the lens. It's a simple lens that's probably going to do some cool stuff. So I think I'm going to take this lens out and try a few sample shots. It is the winter. I'm not sure how many good sample shots I'm going to get, but I'm going to take this lens out and try a few sample shots. So let's see what it's like. Looks like a good lens so far, and I think it's probably going to be something cool. So yeah, maybe you can attach the lens to it to see it. Yeah, see, that's actually quite a large lens for a 50mm compared to these older 50mm designs. So that's it, the Nikon 50mm f1.4Z. It looks like a very nice lens, and I'm very eager to take it out for a few sample shots and tell you my first impressions. Okay, so I'm back from testing the Nikon 50mm f1.4Z, and my initial impressions are very good. I'm not going to talk about any technical testing. I haven't done anything really seriously technical. I don't even know how to do that stuff. This is just my basic first impressions of this cool lens. So I took a bunch of portraits, I took a bunch of landscapes. Unfortunately, it's winter time, and since I just moved here, I don't really have access to some really cool landscapes, so I don't really have any awesome shots to show you. That's unfortunate. I just couldn't go anywhere where there was anything cool around, unfortunately. Yeah, I'm pretty sad about it too. Although I did see some really cool birds yesterday. I got some shots of birds with the Nikon 500mm. But 50mm, well, there just isn't much opportunity to use it here. I did take a portrait of myself at f1.4, so you can see it's pretty sharp. It's a very sharp lens, and it's much sharper than the 50mm f1.8G. Well, much sharper. I don't know about much sharper, but the 50mm f1.8G, the Nikon F mount lens, it has a little bit of a glowy appearance. Yeah, it has a glowy appearance that this lens does not have. This lens looks very clear, and it has an excellent level of sharpness for portraiture. And if you stop it down, you get pretty good sharpness for landscapes too. Now, there's going to be a little bit of a trade-off with this lens, I think. It has a lot of chromatic aberrations. You can see some fringing in bright lighting scenarios. I think some of those more expensive corrected lenses probably wouldn't show that, but this lens shows a fair amount of fringing in backlit scenarios. That's not something to worry about because it's very easy to correct. You just go into the editor, you just correct the chromatic aberrations, but here you can see in this shot, the bokeh does have a little bit of fringing, but you can easily correct that. You just got to correct it and, if necessary, use some masks on the worst areas. But other than that, I didn't find it a problem. So the bottom line is this. You're getting a relatively inexpensive f1.4 lens. It's not too heavy, and it's pretty sharp in the center, and actually has good performance throughout the frame. Slightly softer corners and edges, but basically a nice, sharp f1.4 lens that's easily usable, more than usable, beautiful looking at f1.4. But you got a few trade-offs with that. Number one, you got a little bit of chromatic aberrations going on there, the fringing. The bokeh does look a little bit nervous to me, and the corners are a little bit soft. It's not going to be as bitingly sharp as maybe a corner-to-corner macro lens would be, but basically you have that trade-off. Sharp lens, bright lens, not too expensive, especially compared to the f1.2 version or the f1.8 version, which is slightly more expensive. But you do have those slight problems. And the main problem, really, the chromatic aberrations, the fringing is not too hard to deal with. I think really, the thing I noticed the most is really the bokeh. To me, it looks a little bit nervous, but nothing terrible. The lens rendering still looks pretty good. It's a good lens for the price, so I like it. And I think it was a good choice. The f1.8 lens would undoubtedly be a little bit sharper, but then you're getting almost a full stop going from f1.8 to f1.4. So I think this lens is a great lens, and I'm happy I picked it up. And I think it's a good lens for most people. So yeah, those are my first impressions. No technical results. If you want to see full technical results, you should check out the Photography Life review that's going to come out sometime. But these are just my first impressions of just using this lens. I didn't get this lens for free. I bought it with my own money, and I like this lens a lot, and I'm keeping it. So yeah, it's my first Nikon Z lens. And I hope you enjoyed this little preview of this lens, and I guess I'll see you again next time with more reviews, more tips on bird photography maybe. And don't forget to check the link below and support me on Patreon if you're interested in bird photography. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.